I am 10 weeks pregnant and bleeding.
You may need to go to the emergency room, or at least call your doctor.
I don't know if it is that bad. And I know any bill from such a visit will be bad.
If you have minor bleeding and growing pain, you may have an ectopic pregnancy. That's as dangerous as appendicitis.
The sonogram we had done a couple weeks ago said that was not a risk.
If you have moderate bleeding and severe pain, you are having a miscarriage.
Can doctors stop it?
Not really, but your health is more important. There's no need to risk blood loss, shock and infection because you wanted to try to ride it out.
I've heard it isn't always bad.
If you have minor bleeding and itching or sores down there, then you have lesions that have started to bleed.
What would the lesions come from?
There are social diseases that can cause open sores in the genital region, and your immune system basically gets depressed when you are pregnant.
So I have an untreated STD that's causing this. Can't imagine how?
Maybe through the same sex that led to the pregnancy, or a previous infection that is simply made worse by the bodily changes of pregnancy.
That needs to get treated before it causes birth defects.
If it is a sexually transmitted disease, absolutely, but if you are having pain and bleeding, you need to find out exactly what the cause is before you write it off as something that can wait until your next appointment.
You suggested the emergency room off the bat.
If you have mild bleeding because the fetus growth is pushing on a fibroid, you'll need to get the fibroid removed so that it doesn't cause a miscarriage.
The doctor didn't find fibroids or any other problems a couple months ago. And I can't do much if I am having a miscarriage.
If the baby's placenta is on the cervix and that is starting to open for a miscarriage, the bleeding becomes life-threatening.
The sonogram done at the first appointment would have indicated if that was the case. I think they even sew the cervix shut to prevent this problem.
If you have minor bleeding and it burns when you pee, the more likely culprit is a urinary tract infection.
I'm familiar with the burning and constant need to pee. It is like being pregnant, but with extra discomfort.
When you are pregnant, you are essentially peeing for two, so the end result is more urine you need to vacate and a greater risk of urinary tract infections.
Sure, because of the depressed immune system thing.
However, bleeding like that would only be evident when you pee, so if you manage to go 2 hours between visits, you won't see any blood except in the toilet bowl.
Any urinary infection that causes inflammation or tears in the bladder enough to create fresh blood requires antibiotics or another advanced treatment.
And that's why any reason that could be causing fresh blood enough for you to think you're bleeding while pregnant requires medical review as soon as possible.